Welcome to Practical Privacy. Today we're going to explore the challenge of how to deliver proactive change without getting sidetracked with all the unplanned events that arise. And I have with me today Ben Westwood, Head of Compliance and DPO for Motor Insurers Bureau. Ben, welcome.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me. This is a really exciting format. I like the short form. The idea of it's really good. We are very busy and we are, in terms of the work that we do, quite time poor. And I think that's why I chose the subject I did.
Excellent. Well, that takes us straight in. Can you tell us a little bit more about the challenge?
Yeah, so when I started out in data protection many years ago, um, we didn't do planning. I wasn't really aware of planning as a thing, and it was only when I went back into a very regulated space as the compliance officer for an FCA regulated entity and was required to do an annual compliance plan of what we were looking to achieve, that I sort of learnt the benefits of having a very structured approach to the year ahead, uh, and and the way that can actually drive proactive change across not just the function of data protection but the wider organization. So um, I've kept that as an approach to managing data protection and compliance in my role, even though it's not a requirement. I'm not expected to have a plan each year, but I produce a plan and I produce that plan along with my team. And I mean, we can get into the details of how we go about that if you want to, or is there any other aspects you want to cover in terms of what this is about?
So the idea of obviously mapping out the plan is the ideal world, but not always that straightforward. So let's say when you started out, what approaches did you take to building out this plan that you felt were not actually the right approach?
So we kind of knew where the gaps were. We knew where we weren't as strong as we needed to be. You could say top of mind for most data protection professionals is you have a whole range of policy and procedural documentation. And unless you've got a system, which we don't always have, to ensure that you remember to keep that up to date, those sorts of things can drop by the wayside and get picked up by audits and all sorts of things, and or picked up by your boss to say, why am I looking at an out of date policy? So policy and procedures, goes into the plan. We're going to make sure that gets updated. But then you've got other compliance-based documentation, your ROPAs, your DPIAs, and ensuring that they have an annual review and that they're picked up. And then you have sort of compliance training and awareness beyond just the sort of online training. You want to do something more involved, more in person, more proactive, and sort of interactive. So we put that in the plan. um, it can be at times difficult to decide what you're going to put in the plan, and sort of maturity mapping is what really helped us in this space. And also having a risk register. Risk registers are really important documents. And as we started to build out the plan, we realized that it made more sense in the eyes of the executive committee, because we produce this plan for them now on an annual basis and we walk them through it, to connect what we're looking to do each year and all the different work streams of our plan against one, the level of maturity for the business, because we've rated the maturity in that space, and two, what the risk rating is in the risk register. So they have two really important metrics against what we're looking to achieve each year. So one is we have this area of compliance. We want to focus proactive time and attention on it. And the reason for that is the maturity isn't where we want it to be. And in the risk register, it's scoring quite high. So they recognise, that there's a very direct link to the work we're doing to improve maturity and reduce risk in the organisation.
Okay. So how do you, let's say, keep on track with your plan and not get sidetracked with everything else that pops up?
Yeah, so it's very difficult to balance the proactive with the reactive. It's a constant challenge. We're constantly reprioritizing, and nearly every year the plan changes. So we set at the middle of the year a sort of stop and reflect. Is the plan actually realistic now, around June time? Have we achieved what we wanted to achieve midway through the year? Is something new landed that needs to be in the plan, and there's something actually gone down in terms of the prioritization? So around December, January, the plan gets designed, published. We discuss it with the executive committee. Everyone agrees with it, and they challenge sometimes the areas that we're going to focus on. By June, New things have landed, as we know, new projects, new programs, new risk events, whatever it is, and that plan needs to be revised. So we revised the plan in midway through the year. But
Yeah.
it's very difficult to ensure that everyone is still focused on this proactive piece, because the reactive is constant, and we could just do that all day long, nothing but. And so we sit down when we release the plan, when we draft it at the beginning of the year, we assign what we call functional leads in the team, who is actually the person responsible for overseeing it. And we are very careful to make sure that that person doesn't think they're doing all of the work. That's not your responsibility. Coordination is what we're looking for. Oversight, determining what happens and when, in what order, and pulling in other teammates to support that and other areas of the business. So we call those the functional leads. We then connect that plan to their priorities or objectives for the year ahead. So they have a direct connection between their annual personal objectives and the team plan. Another thing that has been really powerful when we've been drafting the plans, we connect it to the business plan. So the business produces a plan every year. This is what we're looking to do. Our plan directly supports the business in achieving its goals and its aims. So again, that's another really powerful thing to be able to say when you're talking to senior leadership is, we've read the plan for the year. Our plan supports what this business is trying to achieve in this year, and here's how we're going about it. And that gives you that sort of top buy-in from the top, but you also then have, that focus from the folks who are involved in it, in terms of, I have a personal development objective to drive this work stream through to a successful outcome.
Fine. So if there's some, like, for your peers out there, let's say, who have not taken this approach, but they want to take this approach, what advice can you give them? Like, if you could go back and start again, like, so what were the key things that you would like to bear in mind?
Yeah, I think one was, I began by producing these plans in isolation without much input from my team. And after I produced it, I'd go to them, and this is what we're looking to do. And it needed their input, it needed their support for them to really believe and buy into it. They needed to be included in that planning phase. So every year now we sit in a room, and we look at what we were doing the year before and the plan and what we achieved, and we all agree what we want to do for the year ahead. And it's a very collective discussion. So that was, and people really, then it feels like something they're involved in, and they really they believe in the work we're doing, understand the importance of it, because they've contributed to the decision making around it. The other part was connecting the work we're doing, not just with the plan, but with the risk register, and where there are higher risks, and the maturity. Now, assessing maturity is a lot of work, and I could talk about that on a separate short form podcast. We do maturity assessment every 6 months, against an existing sort of maturity program, and that has really helped to determine why it is we think we need to spend time in this space, and why we think we need to invest our time and energy when there's the continuous pressure of BAU. So really helping to communicate why you're working in that space, because it might not always be clear to either your team or the senior execs that are you want to help sponsor you.
Yeah, it's not so much what we're doing, it's why we're doing it. The sort of
Yes.
the
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And being able to recognize that you the plan is going to change. Think new
Yeah.
priorities will come in, new programs of work. That is a constant challenge, and being flexible and being able to recognize at some point, this plan, this work stream, some element of it has to be put on hold. We're not going to achieve it. It's going to be frustrating for the people who are working on it to know that I'm trying to do a thing that I'm never going to get done this year. So let's just all agree that goes to next year's plan. The other thing that's been really good and really powerful is, at the end of the year, is to do a review of what have we achieved in the year that just gone. When I was back in that compliance space, I had a colleague that shared with me that they created a report at the end of each year, and it was, this is the state of compliance at the beginning year. This is the state of compliance at the end of the year. These are all of the things we've achieved. This is all the things we've made better, and all the things we've improved. And not only is that a really powerful thing to communicate to your team, to show, we've massively improved the organization and improved the way we work, but when you're going in and having those conversations and demonstrating the value add of your function to the business, because it can be at times a bit vague to a senior leader, right? Yeah, they protect data. Okay, I'm sure that's really powerful and really important work. But if you go in and say, "Oh, we weren't that great at the beginning of the year. This was missing. That was out of date. That was not being done to the quality it needs to be done. We've done all this work and we've now improved the organization." And if you've got that metric in terms of the maturity score going up, continuing to go up, that's a very simple thing for a senior exec to understand. There's a line, it's going up, things are getting better. I understand data protection is helping me, helping the business, and they're providing real value to the organization.
100%. And that's where you get more buy-in then going forward as well.
Definitely, yeah, and that they start to expect to see the plan. They want to be involved. They want to engage in it. That sort of interest from the senior execs you didn't before, because they understand now the work you're doing, the benefit it's providing, and yeah, it's bringing clarity to what can be, quite a vague concept to some of the people you work with.
Indeed. We could talk about this all day, I've no doubt, but we are on time. So thank you very much, Ben, for joining me today. And thank you for sharing these key insights with me.
No problem. It's been very interesting. And yeah, I look forward to seeing the rest of the series. They sound like fascinating topics. So sounds good.
Let's hope. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe and share. Until next time.